Hello, everybody. Okay, first order of business. If anybody's here, if nobody's here, we're just not going to know for sure, but nobody's here yet. But can you hear me? Oh, I can check on my phone. Let's find out. So we're trying a new microphone. Hold on just 1 second. Oh, wait. Here we go. Okay. Let's see here. Okay. I hear it. All right. Hello, everybody. Oh, and then just in time, Mr. Lujan. Yes. Yeah. Yes, he's proving himself as the mic troubleshooter. All right. The reason it's a new mic, and it's hooked up in a way that I don't know is okay. So if at any point there's like a question about the audio quality, let me know. It seems like it's working. It sounded like this is the thing. It sounded like per the manual, it won't. They like it if it's plugged directly into your computer. They don't want you to use like a USB splitter kind of thing. I'm doing it through that, but it's a powered one. It's one that's plugged in. I'm assuming what their concern is. I could be wrong to assume this. I'm assuming their concern is if it's not powered, then it's not gonna, the microphone's not gonna work right. This is a powered USB splitter. So hopefully it's okay. Sounded like it was okay for the brief test. Anyway, let's see here. Are there going to be Andor spoilers? No, I think I'm going to avoid. I don't want to get too in depth talking about Andor just yet because I know a lot of people are still working through it. And frankly, I'm still kind of composing and composting my thoughts about Andor. So I'm going to rank it. I'm not going to get into spoilers. I might talk about it in a general way. So let's get right into it. Oh, first, just quick DvsM 2001, the soldier update. Work is still continuing. I'm actually a few days behind. Could not be avoided. Work exploded again. And then on top of that, I got like a stomach bug, like a stomach flu for 2 days and was out of action. I was not drawing. So now I'm like several days behind to the point where I'm almost considering just basically pushing my schedule a week, at least for the time being. My intention is sometime this summer, burning through some more PTO to kind of catch back up. So I do intend to finally get back to the original timeline. But for now, I'm kind of inclined after being sick and being busy with work and everything just to sort of just write it off and say like, you know what, I'm a week behind now. It's fine. But we'll see. In any case, the ultimate date, the ultimate completion date is not moving. I'm still planning on that. And to get back to it again, I'll take a vacation sometime to work on comic full time. All right, let's get into the big thing here. Now let's share screen, window, share. Now let's see. Look at that. I mean, look at the production value there. Just amazing. I spent minutes and minutes getting this put together on what is the website here? Tiermaker.com. Just for this broadcast tonight. All right. You see, this is what we're dealing with here. We're going to rank every Star Wars movie and show in this list from NA, not applicable, as in I have not watched enough or any of this, so I'm not going to rank it. I don't know. Okay, Jim, I will see you later. We go from F, D, B, C. Oh, wow, that got screwed up. Look at this. I'm glad we're going over this. Hold on. We're going to make this correction right now. What is this? This nonsense. Okay, let's see here. And that, can I just edit this right here? It looks like I can. Okay, cool. F, D, C, B, A, and then S. God tier. This is the best. This is the most exclusive. This is the highest, best, most perfect expression of the Star Wars thing in the S tier. A is still excellent. A is very good. I just want to go. We might have to revisit this a few times as I start placing things, just, as some controversies erupt. But A is still very, very, very good. S is just like, that's rarefied air up there. That's a very special place to be. Very few things, if any, are going to be S tier. A is basically, in most cases, as good as it gets. B is really good. Oh, see, no, I'm glad I'm going over this before we hear it. This B is very good. Okay. C is, and people in my private life they know the tone I would say this in. Fine. That's what C is. It's fine. It's really neither good nor bad. It's just okay. Maybe it's fine. Maybe a C is slightly better than neither good nor bad. It's okay in the most basic way. Okay. It's like a mid-tier Marvel movie. It's all right. It's not bad, but it's not great. D is a property, a movie, or a show where I think there's more bad than good. It is mostly bad. F, to use the Star Wars parlance, is poodoo. It's no good. It's just not good. Period. Now, does it maybe have an element here or there that's okay? Sure. I mean, it's not going to be wall to wall like watching a snuff movie, all right? But by and large, bad. Okay, that's what's going to go in F. And then NA already described stuff that I can't rank. So why don't we just do that right off the bat? Let's see here. Oh, we got someone coming here. Currently in the gym lifting weights, but I'll enjoy the story. Okay, well, you'll be able to hear. Well, I will try to keep in mind that some people are listening and not watching. Now, right off the bat, why don't we deal with the stuff that I haven't seen? Okay, let's just fill up this NA category right now. So the stuff that I'm not comfortable ranking. For example, I believe this is the Clone Wars movie down here. I've never seen the Clone Wars movie. I've heard, the reason I haven't seen it is because I've heard it's terrible, but I haven't seen it, so I can't opine. So I'm just putting it NA. Actually, no, wait a minute. Yeah, okay, that's the Clone Wars movie. What else? I have not seen enough of Rebels to vote. I've seen a little Rebels, not enough to feel comfortable ranking it. Okay, so I'll just withhold my thoughts about Rebels right now. I don't know what Star Wars Resistance even is, so we'll just put that there. I have not watched Skeleton Crew yet. I think that's probably the most recent show before season 2 Andor. Haven't watched that, so that's not even an episode of it. So that's NA. What else? What else have I not seen? No opinion. That's it. I think that's it. Okay. All right. Those are NAs. Now, right off the bat, actually, just because I was confused about it, which is the Clone Wars movie and which is the Clone Wars show. This is the Clone Wars show. Now, I have not seen a lot of the Clone Wars show, and there's a lot of Clone Wars to see. I mean, there's what, 70 something episodes or something. I mean, it's a lot, maybe more than that. I don't know. But I have seen, I think, some might disagree, enough to render a verdict. All right. And so right now I'm going to put it, well, let's just get this out of the way. We're going to put that right there. All right. Now, I know a lot of people, maybe this should go without saying. This is my ranking for my tastes. My personal, what I like and don't like in Star Wars is going to affect this. This is my own purely subjective ranking. Now I'm tempted. I'm going to tell you right now, I'm tempted to put this right here. I'm not going to, though, because I know some things that do fully deserve to be in that tier. There are elements, a few small elements that are like, I don't know, that's sort of cool. I don't know, that's sort of interesting. Okay. Not many, though. Now, some people might still, even with that explanation, say D is a harsh judgment. I think once we fill out this list, you'll see that that's the right call, because there's a lot of things that are clearly above Clone Wars. Okay. All right. Let's get going. Now, where should we start? Why don't we start? Should we start with saga movies, non-saga movies, or TV shows, or should we just kind of randomly attack this? This is tough. Why don't we do, let's knock out these non-saga films. All right? Because that's, I think, an easy one. Okay, so that would be, we got Rogue One. Where's Solo? Solo. Are those the only two at this point? Other than the Clone Wars movie? Yeah. All right. Okay. Let's do Solo. I think Solo is a good example of that. It's fine. I was just having this conversation with some of the guys the other day, and Keith and I agreed, like, we have no clear memory of what happens in Solo. Now, that sounds like, well, maybe that should be worse. Maybe that's worse than this. No, I mean, I remember thinking it was okay. I remember actually kind of enjoying it, like thinking it was entertaining. Look, Harrison Ford's a tough act to follow. What was the actor's name? It's like, is it like Alder? I don't remember his name. He was also in Oppenheimer. But anyway, look, those are big shoes to fill. I thought he was okay. Like, he was all right. My problems with that movie had nothing to do with casting or performances. I thought the script was a little thin. I thought it wasn't that exciting or interesting. There were a few nice little set pieces. It was just okay. Just okay. I have no strong feelings about Solo. It was all right. I apparently immediately forgot it after I walked out of there, where I was like, hey, yeah, there's like a train thing and there's a weird Darth Maul cameo. Like, okay. It was this, to me, again, the more I talk about this, the more I remember that movie and look at this, it's C. And it's actually, of the C tiers, it's probably low C. It's kind of like C minus, but it's all right. I could have gone my whole life without seeing. All right. Now the next non-saga movie, Rogue One. Now, Rogue One, it's better than Solo. So it's not S tier. Rogue One's kind of a clunky, creaky movie at times. So it's kind of between these two. Now, here's the thing. And I'm trying not to because we're going to get to Andor. I'm trying not to let my affection for I liked Andor more than Rogue One. Andor probably makes Rogue One a little more interesting. It's still at the end of the day felt like it didn't add much to me, to the Star Wars mythos. Like it was, I thought, very good and also very unnecessary. It had the classic problem of a prequel where it's like, I don't know if I need this story, and I don't know if it's good enough to make me forget that I don't need this story. There are things about it I really liked, though. I just can't put it in like A tier. So I'm thinking now we could move these things around as I go, but like right now I'm thinking Rogue One can hang out right there for now. Let's see. But I think that's probably where it's going to end up. All right. Let's knock out some of the Star Wars TV, except for Andor, which is the latest thing. We'll save Andor for toward the end. I'm just going to take this in whatever order this is here. So, okay, Ahsoka. Full disclosure, I'm not a Dave Filoni fan. I don't particularly care for any of his contributions to Star Wars. Let's just throw that out there. Okay, might sound harsh, whatever. I think you need to be into things like Clone Wars and Rebels and whatever to really give a shit about Ahsoka, the series, not the character. Well, both, I guess, but I'm talking about the series right now. I thought it was good. I thought it was better than some of the worst Star Wars shows. It did something that a couple of these did. Well, maybe not a couple, but Acolyte did as well, where just when it was starting to get interesting, it's like, okay, season finale, that's it. Stay tuned for more. Now, I get it. Look, there's nothing wrong with cliffhangers. There's nothing wrong with, like, leaving the audience wanting more and kind of teeing up and getting them excited about the next part of this, the next season, the next episode, the next movie, whatever they're doing. Fine. In my opinion, there's a right way and a wrong way to do that. The wrong way is we feel like there was nothing here. It was all just a great big tease for whatever they might do someday. And I think the hazard in that, now maybe it sounds like we're going to get more Ahsoka. Like they're doing casting, they recast people, they're working towards something. But like, for example, Acolyte tried that move. We'll get to Acolyte, and like I have no confidence there's going to be any more Acolyte. So you spent like a season kind of creating, like setting the stage for like interesting things are going to happen next season. And it's like, well, I'm sitting here now. It would be great if some interesting things happen this season, the one that I'm watching. So Ahsoka has, I think, a little bit of that problem. Or maybe a lot, a little bit, maybe a lot. So for me, Ahsoka, I think that's I'm putting it sort of in solo tier. I think we'll call these orders maybe I think it's better than Solo just because it's a little more interesting. And it is actually charting a new course as opposed to Solo, which is just filling in gaps and didn't really tell me anything about Han Solo that I didn't already know, or that I was curious about. Like, I'm not counting like where'd he get his pistol? I don't care whatever. Like he got it somewhere, I guess. How'd he meet Chewie? He met him somewhere. Like they didn't make it any of that interesting. Ahsoka, at least again, is kind of going into new areas. They rolled out what's his name? Oh my god, I'm blanking. Long day at work. Blue skin. Thrawn. Okay. Like they're doing something. They did a little more with the Sith witches. They're doing a little something with like it's like, all right, there's something here. There's something going on. I guess they're going somewhere. They're just taking a long goddamn time to get there. So anyway, fine. A little better than Solo, not great. Okay. Acolyte. You know what? Yeah. Yeah. That just happened right there. Acolyte F tier. What the fuck was the point of that show? Like and talk about see, this is just what I was saying. You spent a whole season basically getting to where I think that show should have started. Not quite. I mean, it was like basically the last few episodes. It's like, finally, we're getting some. Come on, let's get this thing going. It was like an old car. You're like, that's what you did for 6 episodes. And then finally things started happening. And then it's like, and scene. And now there won't be a season 2. I can't imagine there'll be a season 2. Because I have not met anyone who was real excited about Acolyte. It's like people who either hated Acolyte or thought it was kind of good, has potential. I don't know, but no one's gushing and raving over Acolyte. I'm not going to get lost in the woods of the problems with some of these lower tier things. Suffice it to say, it just didn't seem to have an interesting idea anywhere in there. Now, maybe this is the thing with Star Wars. Sometimes you can try and like, you hear people try to apologize for Star Wars by saying like, well, it's for kids. Is Acolyte for kids? It doesn't seem like it's for kids. At first it does, because it's bright and colorful and you have these sort of goofy characters and it's sort of bland. But then you got some kind of gnarly murders and you got weird arm daddy. Like I want to like it kind of is. I think it's more for like teenage weirdos who write fan fiction where they ship characters. Like that's what it seemed like it was for. And I am not in that demographic. F tier. All right. So now you can see that D's looking a lot more right. And see, these are looking better when you figure how far. Okay. Anyway. Kenobi. Oh, Jesus. It's not as bad as Acolyte. It's not as good as Ahsoka. Man. Is Kenobi better or worse than Solo? Solo is better than Kenobi. That's actually like one of the closest comparisons, though, when you think about it. Like what they're doing. They're going back and they're like, let's fill in the gaps of one of these legacy characters. But Solo is just better. It's more, it's it feels like it was closer to accomplishing what it was setting out to do, where I'm not totally sure what Kenobi was setting out to do. Better or worse than Clone Wars? Granted, again, I've only seen like maybe 10% of Clone Wars. I saw all of Kenobi. I'm going to say Clone Wars is better. The Clone Wars I have seen is better than Kenobi. I think. Yeah. Yeah, and here's my weird explanation why. Clone Wars is guilty of something that Mandalorian last season is doing a little bit. It's something that you see in Star Wars, and we've been seeing it for years now, which I'm not a fan of, which is attempting damage control and repair of the clunky plots of the movies. So Clone Wars, I think, too often feels like it's doing the work that the movies should have done, particularly when it comes to Anakin Skywalker's character. It's and in a way it's trying, you hear this from the fans often. You know, if you say like the prequels weren't very good, episode 2 wasn't very good, episode 3 wasn't very good, Anakin Skywalker's fall didn't really make sense, like it didn't really play right, it wasn't really well written. You hear like, oh, it all makes more sense if you've watched Clone Wars. Okay, fuck you. You know, like you can't. The problem is these movies came out years and years and years before all this damage control somehow, like, and it's like, what? So now if I've read all this back material, if I've read the Silmarillion or something, now I'll understand Lord of the Rings. But like that, it seems such a lame burden to offload onto the fans, where it's like, I know it basically, to me, it feels like this isn't very good, but I'm just going to keep putting out material of like band-aids and retcons and repairs and fixes and tweaks that if you consume all this other stuff for money, by the way, eventually, and then go in to this original thing with all this post in your brain, like it'll seem better. Like it'll fill in all the gaps that actually were just holes before, you know. I just find that particularly lame. And I feel like Clone Wars, that's a lot of what it's doing, is making the prequels make sense. Okay. Making those characters seem like characters, making like connecting all these dots that should have been connected in the movies, could have been connected in the movies. All right. That's what Clone Wars is guilty of. Back to Kenobi. Kenobi, in my opinion, is guilty of a far more egregious sin, which is undermining the originals that they're drawing on. It actually, in some ways, is making the prequels, and worst of all, the original trilogy, worse in ways, or creating problems with them that just were completely unforced errors. Ben Kenobi meeting Princess Leia and having these little adventures with her, it's not necessarily creating a plot hole or problem or anything or an error, but it's weird. And it's weird that it makes viewing A New Hope strange. Knowing this new piece of the puzzle that apparently all this time, oh yeah, they hung out for a while. Remember that time she was kidnapped and he went on a little adventure with her? The fact that one time a deranged, Inquisitor woman attacked the Lars homestead, like when Luke was there, like that stuff is kind of weird and kind of dramatically changes like your conception of what was going on with these characters, and not in a good way, not in a better way. It's like, to me, that's worse. You're basically taking canon for what it's worth, and you're making, especially with the like legacy canon, original trilogy and stuff, and adding to it in ways that needs to be done very carefully, very respectfully, very thoughtfully. And you only want to be leaving it better off, not like with weird one eyebrow raised, like, what? Someone with a red lightsaber attacked the Larses when Luke was like 7 or something? Like, what? It's just stupid. So yeah, I'm putting Kenobi behind Clone Wars, making the same mistake but in different directions. You have to be very careful, I think, when you're getting around the movies. It's like, when you camp in the forest, you want to leave it better than you came. Clone Wars, even though I think it's a little clunky and I don't respect the endeavor of trying to fix the prequels, at least they are fixing the prequels. Okay? Kenobi's making the original trilogy worse. God, it makes me want to put it here. Why isn't it here? Is there anything about Kenobi? No. You know what? Acolyte's worse. I think Kenobi's just a little bit better, which means still pretty bad. It also just looks bad. It looks like a Star Trek The Next Generation. We'll see. We'll see. I'm going to, you know what? I'm not feeling bad about it being down here right now. The more I talk about it. All right, let's go back to, all right, let's move on. Star Wars. Okay, now this is the animated, this traditional 2D animated Clone Wars that came out between episode 2 and episode 3. They were the little 5-minute shorts. 2 seasons by the Samurai Jack. It's like Tartovsky. I always get his name wrong. It's like Gendry Tartovsky, something like that. Samurai Jack guy. I loved this. I thought it was great. I don't know if I have a complaint about it. I loved the art. I loved the little stories. I thought they were awesome. I regularly go back and rewatch some of these. So I'm thinking it's somewhere up here. It's not S, is it? No, it's not S. They're so fun. And it's in a way, it's a different scale. It's probably not fair to be ranking them with all these because we're talking like 5-minute shorts. And they really are just fun little, but some of them, this is as cool as General Grievous has ever been in these. By a mile. Not even close. He was ridiculous in the movie. Better in the Clone Wars animated series, the CG series, the 3D series, whatever you want to call it. But he was really cool. Like, I saw this and I was like, I am so hyped for Grievous based on this. And then I saw Revenge of the Sith and it's like, why does he sound like Count Chocula? Like, why is he... Okay. I'm putting it here. It's A tier. Classic Clone Wars is A tier. That's right. All right. Oh, Mandalorian. Okay. Here's the deal with Mandalorian, people. It's gotten progressively worse as it goes on. I think season 1 is up here somewhere. Season 2 would be a step down. Season 3, I thought, is like this area. So what's the average? What are we going to call that? So I think it's somewhere between these two. Here's the thing. I could justify putting it here. The high points of season 1 and 2 of Mandalorian are really high and really good. Really, really good. And even though it is so fan servicey, the appearance of Luke Skywalker rescuing them from the Death Troopers or whatever those things were, I mean, that was just so fun, so cool, So we'll put it here. Is Mandalorian better or worse than Rogue One? Is Mandalorian better or worse than Rogue One? Gosh. I'm going to say Mandalorian's better than Rogue One. Oh, boy, though. Here's the thing. No, I'm going to leave it behind Rogue One. And here's why. If it was just season 1 and 2, it would actually beat Rogue One handily. I think it'd be A tier. That third season's trash. It's really bad. You got Grogu in the IG, riding the IG robot. You got all the whole subplot with the Mandalorian palace intrigue thing. You got Moff Gideon, Darksaber, all that crap. It feels like a lot of live action Clone Wars nonsense. So no, it's worth taken as a whole, that bumps it behind Rogue One. It's not as bad as, because of the strength of the first 2 seasons, not as bad, not C tier. You can't put it in C tier. But it's not better than Rogue One. It's definitely not A tier. All right. All right. All right. Now we're into saga films and Andor. We'll do Andor last because Andor is the most recent thing. And I actually, I have a sense of where it'll go, but I don't know. I want to see where everything else goes. All right. Let's see here. Should we just do release order? Let's just do release order. Star Wars 77, A New Hope. Now, this is, for a Star Wars fan, I know this is going to feel like a hot take, but I don't want to rank based on nostalgia. I'm trying to rank these movies based on how good do I think they are and how rewatchable. Like, if they were on, would I sit and rewatch the whole thing without fast forwarding? That's kind of my weird metric. I do, obviously, goes without saying, I love Star Wars. I love A New Hope. It's also super nostalgic for me, of course. It's, I think, and this is where it gets tough to say, but I'm trying to be real here. I'm trying to be scientific about this. You got to follow the science, everybody. I don't know how well it's aged. I think it's a little creaky. It's a little low budget looking in a lot of places. It's a 100% a George Lucas script. So like the dialogue is clunky. It looks kind of like a Doctor Who set or something. It looks like a 70s sci-fi movie, you know, for sure. And it's clunky like a 70s sci-fi movie. The dialogue's a little rough. The performances are not fantastic. You have to give it credit for this thing, this fully realized thing. It wasn't really fully realized, but this crazy visionary thing just landed, and it was so rich and so detailed. And the fact that, you know, what is this now? 50 years later or something, almost. There's still like, it, you know, you got to give it props. It's not up here, in my opinion. It's very good and it's very important, but it's more of like a here kind of movie. I think we're gonna put it there for now. It's better than Clone Wars, the animated Clone Wars. They're both animated. 2D Clone Wars. I'm just gonna start saying that. All right. It is, yeah. This is that's the word I would use. It's charming. But it's rough. And I think, as we'll get to it, I think there are superior Star Wars movies. You know, I think but again, I'm trying not to skew the ratings based on historical significance, which is, if it was that, of course, you know, S tier, sure. But that I'm doing on like, what do I respond to most? What do I think is like the best of these movies? Which ones do I love the most? I'm also trying not to get too skewed by nostalgia, which, you know, it's hard with original Star Wars because I had all those toys and everything. But Again, once we start plugging the others in, like for example, let's just go to the next obvious thing here. Empire Strikes Back. I don't even have to think about this right there. Empire Strikes Back is better than A New Hope. So A New Hope can't, I mean, where else are you going to go? Empire Strikes Back, I still think is the best Star Wars movie. So where does A New Hope go? It has to go under that somewhere. Maybe even lower. We'll see. Let's just start working through release order, I guess. Return of the Jedi. I love Return of the Jedi. It is not as good as Empire, but it's very good. Some people get hung up on the Ewoks. They never bothered me. I never cared about it. And because no matter how silly the Ewoks are, you cannot undo both how great the whole Jabba part of the first act is. Like that's just so much fun and so cool. And then the Vader Luke Emperor dynamic in the last act, which is just amazing. To this day, I will sit and watch that and emotionally react to it. Like it's just the coolest shit in Star Wars. So it kind of makes me want to actually, I mean, it has to be above A New Hope. So here's the question. Does it go here behind Empire? Which I don't, it is also very Muppety. Like Jabba's Palace does feel a little bit like a very special episode of the Muppet Show. The Ewoks. So you could put it here behind Empire, or you can put it here. But to me, that means, and maybe this is correct. Maybe, God, but do I want to bump? I can't bring myself to bump A New Hope down. I'm putting Return of the Jedi above New Hope, though. So this is where we're at right now. All right. This is getting tough. I'm starting to get nervous about this. All right. Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. I have long felt, and I'm not changing my mind, Phantom Menace, for all its flaws, and it has flaws, well-established flaws, it's the best of the prequel movies, in my opinion. Yes, better than Revenge of the Sith. We'll get there. I think this is actually a very pure, clean, clear vision from George Lucas. And it's not a terrible way to start the saga. I actually, while it's clunky as hell at parts. The final act is too confusing. There's too many things going on. Performances are not great. Jake Lloyd is a little young. Jar Jar, enough said. Like, there's lots of things there. It's the best of the prequels. And I think it actually visually holds up pretty well. Because unlike, especially episode 2, it's not loaded with CG. There's a lot of practical effects, a lot of models, things like that. It was shot on film. It still looks pretty good. So I'm going to put this. Man, this is getting brutal. It's better than Ahsoka and Solo. It's better than Mandalorian. Is it better than Mandalorian? It's not amazing. I don't know if it's even very good. It's somewhere in here. It is better than Ahsoka, for sure. Is the season 3 of Mandalorian bad enough to make episode 1 better than Mandalorian? Yes. But it's not, I don't think it's as good as Rogue One. We're gonna let that sit there for a little while. We'll just let this sit. Just let this sit. Let's see how that goes. All right. Boy, this is actually getting harder than I thought it would. All right, episode 2. I think episode 2, I'm inclined to put it here. It's better than Acolyte. I don't think it's even as good as Kenobi. No, Kenobi's worse. Kenobi's worse. Is it? It's probably worse than Clone Wars. But it's better than Kenobi. So is it the best of the F tier or the worst of the D tier? Is the question we're looking at. I'm putting it here. I think here's my problem with both episode 2 and 3. It had one job. It had to make the rise and fall of Anakin Skywalker interesting. And it did not. Because he wasn't interesting. And this was the first Phantom Menace, he's a kid. It doesn't even count. Like, it's barely even about Anakin. It's about everything going on around him. But episode 2 is where, like, no, this is kind of now we kind of make this is about Anakin. This is about the romance of Amidala, the future mother of Luke and Leia. Like, shit needs to happen here. These characters need to be interesting and need to tell you a lot and kind of make your heart break for what's going to happen. And it doesn't. It doesn't. Instead, you get Natalie Portman in her, like, Barbarella, outfit, and you get Anakin kind of not being sort of a dark and brooding, heroic, but sort of sad Jedi. He just comes off like a fucking school shooter. He comes off like just a weirdo, like, and a creep, and a guy that everyone is kind of looking at sideways, and they should. Like, he's a problem. I don't think that's. I thought that was just the most uninteresting way to go with him. Like, he's just sitting in a field talking about, like, maybe we need, some kind of authoritarian government. Like, this is not. It's no. Yeah, I'm putting it. It's the of these. It's the best of the worst. Okay. Revenge of the Sith. Revenge of the Sith is better than episode 2. It is not as good as Phantom Menace. It is better than Solo and Ahsoka. It is not as good as Mandalorian, so I'm putting it right here. Revenge of the Sith is fine. It's taken all in all, averaged out. It's fine. The cool stuff is cool. The bad stuff is pretty bad. And it just, to me, it's just like a wash. It's just, and it, again, just like I said with episode 2, it had to do one thing. It had to make the fall of Anakin Skywalker dramatically interesting and exciting. It did not. The turn doesn't make any sense. Why he would stay turned doesn't make any sense once Padme is dead. Him just deciding, 5 minutes ago, I'm really worried about my father figure, Obi-Wan Kenobi, taking on Grievous alone. Now he's ready to murder him. Somewhere in between there, like, I'm defending this guy who's kind of been a father figure to me, this other father figure, Palpatine, from Mace Windu, this guy I've never particularly liked and who's never liked me, but he's one of the top Jedi. I sort of killed him. Not really. I was at least an accessory to murder. And I'm horrified by what I did. 10 minutes later, I'm slaughtering every Jedi I find in the temple, including a bunch of little kids. Like, I just can't even. I can't even go there with this movie. Like, it's just stupid. And if you shut your brain off, it's actually like I think a lot of people, they say like, no, Revenge of the Sith is the best. Yeah, because it's super easy to watch, because it almost never lets you up. Like, it's just like go, go, boom, boom, crash, lightsabers, explosions, rays, like, and now we're done. Darth Vader. Like, it barely gives you a second to breathe. If you really kind of can see the Matrix, though, there's like nothing going on there. And then when it does, when the din does quiet down and you have like that middle portion where, you know, Padme's brushing her hair and stuff, it's so dumb. It's not as, again, not as bad as episode 2. Phantom Menace is better. It's a better film. And I'm totally comfortable with that. All right. Let's see here. Force Awakens. I really enjoyed The Force Awakens. I think it is kind of a soft reboot, kind of like a quasi remake. But I forgave it because it's for where it happened. We're coming off the prequels, which now there's all this prequel revisionism where it's like, oh, actually they were good. They weren't good. But at the time when this came out, there was a lot of like, wow, those prequels were garbage. Now Disney has bought Star Wars. Lucas isn't involved at all. Can they even make a decent Star Wars? And they came out with this, and you know what? It looks like Star Wars, smells like Star Wars, tastes like Star Wars. Like, it was a really good, solid Star Wars movie. It didn't reinvent the wheel. I would argue it didn't have to. It just needed to be like a proof of concept. Like, no, we can still make Star Wars. And I thought it succeeded. I like Rey. I like Kylo Ren. Like, they're interesting characters. Like, I was in. And I remember when I went and saw that movie when it came out, man, I was delighted. I really, really loved it. I think it's up here somewhere. I think it's certainly, yeah, it's better than these. Better than Phantom Menace, better than Rogue One. It's not Empire. It's somewhere in here. It's somewhere in the A tier. I think I'm going to put it at the bottom of the A tier. As much as I love it, it is safe. It is really safe. And I remember, and we're going to go right to The Last Jedi from here. When I came out of it, I said, like, you know what? It's very safe. It's kind of a remake of A New Hope in some ways. I will forgive it if it does a hard right turn in the next movie. If the next movie is just kind of a remake of Empire Strikes Back, no. I'm not into that. But if you're doing this in a way, it's like Star Wars. Remember Star Wars? Ha ha ha, gotcha. Not actually. And we're going in a different direction this time. We're not remaking Star Wars. We're making different choices. Then I will actually like Force Awakens even more, because it's like teeing up the subversion. You know what I'm saying? And that's what The Last Jedi did. Now, a lot of people hate The Last Jedi. I love it. I think it's great. Because it did that, what I just said. Because it was like, no, we're going, it's the trailer line from Luke Skywalker. It's not going to go the way you think. That movie's not going the way you think. I get it's polarizing. All right, whatever. I get some people are like, that's not the Luke they wanted to see. They wanted to see Mandalorian Luke. And while Mandalorian Luke is fun, it's also really boring. And like, I would have actually been a little disappointed if that's what The Last Jedi Luke turned out to be, is basically Mandalorian Luke. Like this just crazy, all-powerful, flash of green lightsaber samurai. cutting through all the enemies. Because I still, to this day, and I'm not going to do a whole thing on Last Jedi. I've written and talked too much about Last Jedi in my life. I will say this, though. I'm not sure how the Luke that people wanted to see, some people wanted to see, I was obviously fine with this version, fits with what Force Awakens teed up. If Luke was this kind of old Jedi master, samurai master, just sitting on an island waiting to open up a can of, lightsaber on all the, the First Order, why the hell is he sitting on this island? Why the hell did he take off and not tell anyone where he was going? Why did he go through the trouble of trying to cover his steps? Like, he kind of has to be, just by the way they wrote this, he sort of has to be the version of him we see in The Last Jedi. And also, I totally was I thought that was a far more interesting way to go with Luke than the version that other people want to see, and that's fine. I mean, it totally is a taste thing. I especially, well, we'll just leave it. Again, I've talked too much about The Last Jedi in my life. I do find that at the end of the day, people's complaints about the movie, if people aren't into it, that's totally, I mean, I have no problem with that. It's not my movie. I think what does trigger me a little bit is when people are so unhappy with it not being what they wanted it to be. They try on a chalkboard to plot out, like, this is why there's actually something wrong with the movie. Like, there's actually something defective about this movie. And that's why it's not just that I don't like it. It's not enough that it's not my taste. Like, I need to prove that there's something wrong with it. To me, that's really lame. Like, and kind of immature. I don't know. I just can't, I get it. You wanted a different thing. Fair enough. That's like, I wanted a different thing with The Rise of Skywalker. But I'm not going to go out there and try and argue like, what, Rise of Skywalker is a terrible movie. And if you like it, you're wrong. Like, some people like it, whatever. I hated The Rise of Skywalker. In fact, where is it in this tier? I can't believe I'm saying this because I hate this movie so much. It's not as bad as Acolyte. Acolyte's really bad. And it's not as bad as Kenobi. But Attack of the Clones is better. Here's what I hate most about Rise of Skywalker. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this either. By the way, for the record, the least viewed of the Star Wars movies for me, personally. I think I've seen it maybe 3 times. Which is, as far as Star Wars movies goes, that's like nothing. Because some of these, I mean, especially as you go up there, like Empire Strikes Back, I couldn't even tell you how many times I've seen Empire Strikes Back. I bet I could sit and write the script with a 90% accuracy. So the fact that kind of says something, that Rise of Skywalker, I've only seen it like a few times, and it's like, that's enough. It does have its moments. I actually enjoy still all the way through the sequel trilogy. Enjoy the Rey character and all the stuff she's up to and doing. Enjoy the Kylo Ren character and all the stuff that he's up to and doing. So when those two are on screen, I was interested. Like, I was into it. This kind of makes me wonder if maybe it's even... It was, I think what frustrated me about... First of all, I didn't love how the Emperor was brought back. I would have preferred to see the ultimate final conflict be between Rey and Kylo. I don't think you needed to bring in another like boogeyman bad guy. That's why I was also fine with, like, Snoke getting rubbed out in The Last Jedi. It's like it's clearing a path for Kylo. I wanted I wanted to see Kylo grow into the big villain. Um, I think shooting around Leia being like, Carrie Fisher being dead made it really weird and clunky. Um, what I think bothers me, and this is I get for sure this is a very narrow geeky complaint, but as someone who loved The Last Jedi, I found the way Rise of Skywalker, to me, when you're talking about these trilogies where you have a different writer and director for each one, there's a baton being handed, okay, from one to the next. My impression watching Rise of Skywalker was that J.J. Abrams was like, whoa, people really reacted strongly to The Last Jedi. Let's just run away from that. And anything that was a little controversial or edgy about or different or whatever about The Last Jedi, it's like, just let's get rid of that. Let's just move forward and almost act like it never happened. There was a reviewer I really enjoy that was saying, like, Rise of Skywalker almost feels like um, it feels like this third movie in a trilogy where we never even saw what the second movie was. Like, because it wasn't The Last Jedi. It was like this imaginary other second movie that we didn't see. It feels like it sort of picks up from Force Awakens, but it kind of just ignores The Last Jedi in critical ways. Um, and the fact that The Last Jedi, let's say, like, oh, Last Jedi is not popular, we want to retcon all that. As much as that might disappoint me as a fan of it, that's not an excuse. You can do that, but you can also do it well. And my argument is that Rise of Skywalker doesn't do it well. It just sort of ignores and negates and undoes things that happened in The Last Jedi. You could have spun it like Last Jedi was basically what I think in a lot of ways it is, the cynical loss movie. It's the movie about being dejected and defeated and deflated and giving up. And therefore, the next part would be like coming out of that, coming out the other side of that. And instead, they're like, we're sorry. Don't worry about all that stuff that happened last one. We were just fucking around. We were just in a bad place. Like, that's my complaint, basically, about, and it's not the biggest or the worst, or the most serious complaints about Rise of Skywalker and why it didn't work for me, but it's one of the big ones. All right. So, that all said, I do think Attack of the Clones is better because at least it has a vision and it is getting somewhere. It's getting there artlessly and messily and without any kind of vim or vigor or flair, but it's very clearly a railroad track that's getting us to Anakin in the Vader suit. And like, you got to give it that, I guess. And it does have some fun, like, kind of sci-fi. You've got the arena full of termites, and you got Jango Fett stuff, and you got the clones, and there's some good stuff there. So yeah, Attack of the Clones is better than Rise of Skywalker. Okay, finally, now here we go. Granted, just finished this series, season 2, yesterday. I'm not going to do any spoilers. I'm not even going to talk a lot about it because I'm still kind of like processing, like I said. But to me, not only is it up here, I think it's up here. It's just a question of where up here in the S tier for the people listening at home. Andor is S tier. For me, where does it rank with Empire and The Last Jedi? And I'm going to put it... It's better than The Last Jedi. Is it better than Empire? Here's the thing. Now, this isn't the permanent. I'm just setting this down. I'm just going to set it down here. I might pick it back up and move it. Let's just put it there for now and see how that looks. As slightly worse than Empire, slightly better than The Last Jedi. Here's the thing that I think keeps it. And this is through no fault of Andor's. I want to be very clear here. This is not a ding on Andor. But this is a Star Wars ranking. What is Star Wars? I think how you answer that determines what you're going to think and feel about Andor. I think Andor is maybe one of the best TV shows I've ever seen. All right. Is it the best Star Wars thing? How necessary is it for a Star Wars thing to have lightsabers and space wizards doing things, Jedi and Sith? And like the Force as a very like an actual phenomenon that's happening in front of people in dramatic ways, like, or moving stuff with your mind. Like, how much the Star Wars, is that a necessary ingredient to Star Wars? And if it is, and your thing doesn't have that, can you really say it's the best Star Wars thing? What is Star Wars anyway? What is so? But on the other hand, if we say Star Wars is an allegory, it's like kind of it's sci-fi, it's allegorical, it's talking about the present in a long time ago, far in a galaxy far, far away kind of context. It's like a fever dream version of things that we experience every day, and to talk about these things. It is no great secret that George Lucas, when he was kind of deciding, like, we got the Empire, we got the Rebels, whatever, when he was doing the original movies, the original ideas for it, he had thoughts in his mind about revolutions, that, the Empire was like basically any kind of first world country, perhaps even the United States. He's made comparisons. The rebels were sort of like the Viet Cong in this kind of like version he had in his, like the metaphor in his head. When you look at it through that political lens, Andor is as Star Wars-y as Star Wars can be. But there's also the kind of thing that like the influence of Joseph Campbell brought to it. George Lucas was a huge Joseph Campbell nerd and was remixing a lot of mythic tropes and, ideas into his space opera to kind of bootstrap some resonance in it beyond just like ray guns and aliens, to make it feel like something more. There's something here. There's something underneath. If that's what Star Wars is for you, then you can't make Andor number one, because that's not really what, it's kind of both. It's kind of both. Star Wars has a lot of commentary, and it has a lot of political aspects to it, but it is also this kind of timeless fairy tale thing. But see, if I don't put Andor as number one, it's almost like I'm saying, because there's not a lightsaber ignited anywhere in this series, I'm docking at a point. And that's not what I'm saying. Andor is perfect. I wouldn't change anything. It's doing exactly what it's trying to do, and it's doing it at a very high level. But this isn't like an absolute, this is like a Star Wars. How good of a Star Wars is this Star Wars thing? And sometimes Andor can feel like a very good sci-fi thing. It doesn't even sometimes feel specifically Star Wars. Sometimes it feels very Blade Runner. Sometimes it feels very like, Cuban Revolution. Like it feels like a lot of things. I mean, if you're in a scene where you're not looking at stormtroopers, it's like, is this like a sci-fi remix of the French underground, resistance to the Nazis, or is this a remix of the Russian Revolution? Like, what is this thing? And then you'll see a stormtrooper or an alien, or it's like, oh, it's a Star Wars thing. That's a TIE fighter. But man, I love it. But see, again, is this a love list or is this a ranking a Star Wars list? And is it Star Warsy enough? Would making it more Star Wars, I think making it more, that's the weird thing about Andor. If you made it more Star Warsy, I think you'd hurt it. I was really hoping, like, I hope we don't see Darth Vader. I hope we don't. I hope Luthen doesn't turn out to be a Jedi. Like there are some things that could have happened, like to make it very Star Wars, that to me would have stuck out so much. It would have been such a like a flub. And this last, like you're gonna stick the landing here. This is so good. Don't screw it up. And then you could picture all these ways they could have screwed it up by adding kind of Star Wars things, by making it more Star Warsy. You would have heard it. But again, what is Star Wars? Empire is so classic. It's really between these two. Like these two, one of these two is the best Star Wars thing. And or also, and I don't know if this should be counted against it or for it, without getting too much into contemporary politics. To me, at least, Andor hits harder given everything that's going on in the world right now. Like it was sometimes hard to watch in a way that if it had come out 15 years ago, I don't think it would affect me as much. Is that better or worse? In a way, that's better. Like it's relevant art, right? But Empire is relevant in that it's timeless. It's not about whatever's going on in the news right now. Like it's like the classic sort of mythic, like good and evil, and doing things for the right reason and the wrong reason and the wrong way, and the right reason and the wrong way, or the wrong reason and the right way. Like it gets into it's a morality play where Andor is so decisively amoral in some ways. It's more about kind of the ends justifying the means. And it being ugly and difficult, and the toll it takes, the price it exacts. It's like it's a more complex, it's definitely more morally complex than Empire. Empire is like, I mean, and a lot of the classic Star Wars, and again, more aimed at like preteens, but like you can tell who's good and who's bad. The good people are doing good things and the bad people are doing bad things. The bad people look creepy and the good people are handsome or attractive. Like it's very easy to see what's going on. Bad people have red lightsabers. Good people have nice, pretty blue ones. For Andor, it's like we know where we're trying to go, and it's gonna be a fucking shit show to get there. And none of us are gonna be clean coming out the other end of this. But if we do it right, and we're lucky, we'll end up with a situation where someone clean can now step in and stand on all the bodies, and everything that it took to get in this position. Like, it's so much, and this doesn't spoil anything. Andor is so much to me about, among a million other things, seeding the ground in a way where you can have a Luke Skywalker able to do anything that makes a difference. That if all the stuff we're seeing in Andor didn't happen, Luke is still sitting on the farm. Like, or even if he gets off the farm, like, there's no Yavin, there's no rebel movement. Like, Leia's not really in the mix. Like, just nothing is happening outside of just people shaking their fists at the Empire. Luke doesn't even have his opportunity to have a hero moment because no one has set the stage for him. But he's the only one, not the only one, but one of like the only people whose names anyone's going to know, and there were all these people that came before him to pave the way. So he had a clear shot to someday end up in the throne room talking to his dad and the Emperor. Like, it's just, none of that could have happened without all the stuff we're seeing in Andor. And that makes it's what you hope to accomplish, what I was talking about before, Kenobi and Clone Wars, and things like that, and Solo, where it's like, what are you doing to the original properties? Andor, to me, makes the original trilogy far more interesting and far better, and most importantly, makes the Empire scary, makes the Empire worth taking down. Because when you go back as an adult and watch the original trilogy and you see, the Empire, it's like, these are the bad guys. It's like, what are they really doing? Like, yes, okay, they blow up Alderaan and they kill the Larses. But a lot of it is just assumed, like, look, they're scary, they're bad guys. See, we got to take them down. I mean, clearly Darth Vader is bad. We got to take him down. But you're not, you hear a lot of people talking about, like, yeah, I hate the Empire, but you don't see a lot of really real tangible examples of why the Empire is bad. Andor, like, the whole show is like, oh, like, it makes you want to make a Molotov cocktail. Like, it shows like the Empire is bad. These people are terrible. These are awful, awful, despicable people, and something needs to happen. Like, people, like, it's this kind of crazy call to action show. The original trilogy, I felt like, didn't do that. No, it was fine. It didn't suffer for it. But that's what I mean, where it's like, I think when you watch Andor and you start getting all that, and then you go back to the original trilogy, or certainly Rogue One, it's all way more interesting and way heavier and way more like there's more at stake, and there's more like you're kind of rooting for, like, let's start making things happen. Let's blow up that Death Star. Like, let's knock Vader's ship off course. Let's do this. Let's start making moves, guys. I think it would make it way cooler. Everyone's talking about how they want to rewatch Rogue One now that Andor is done. I feel like I would kind of want to rewatch Rogue One and then the original trilogy. All right. This is like in circles. I don't know where to put this. I think I'm not going to do a cop out and say like a tie. And I know there's also the recency bias where I just finished Andor and I thought it was amazing. So right now, yeah, Andor might barely inch out Empire. How am I going to feel in a year? do I even care? Like, maybe will I be here in a year? Who knows? I mean, that's a silly thing to be like, how will I feel someday in a different situation? I'll say this, and maybe this is bias in the other direction. It's familiarity breeding, not contempt, but I love the Hazlitt quote of familiarity doesn't necessarily, this is paraphrasing, doesn't necessarily breed contempt, but it definitely dulls the edge of admiration. And that might be the case a little bit with Empire and what I'm about to say, since I've been aware of Empire for now like 45 years or something. I admire the hell out of Andor. The writing, the production, everything that went into it, the performances, like it's just perfect. And it's one of the few, it's not often this happens, but it's when I'm watching a thing or reading a thing or whatever, where I'm just like, I don't even know how this was accomplished. This is so good. And I don't have that kind of dumbstruck reaction to Empire Strikes Back. I love it. I think it's great. I think Andor might be this much better, even though there's not a lightsaber in it. All right. Here we are. This is the list. Final from best to worst: Andor, Empire Strikes Back, The Last Jedi. Moving on to A tier: Return of the Jedi, Star Wars: A New Hope, the 2D Clone Wars, and Force Awakens. B tier: very good, Rogue One, Phantom Menace, and Mandalorian. C, the fine tier, that's the tone, fine. Revenge of the Sith, Ahsoka, and Solo. D is in mostly crap, Clone Wars. And then F tier, from best of the worst to worst of the worst. Episode 2, Attack of the Clones. Episode 9, Rise of Skywalker. The Obi-Wan Kenobi series. The Acolyte series. And then not reviewed because I haven't seen enough or any, so I can't render an opinion. The Clone Wars movie, Star Wars Rebels, Star Wars Resistance, and Skeleton Crew. It's official. This is definitive. It's final. This is my list, correct, at least until later this evening when I think about it more. All right. Let's see here. It's May 15th. I'm probably going to try and do a little drawing tonight on the comic. And then I'll be circling back with you in 2 weeks from tonight. As I mentioned, I'm a little behind on this page. I'm going to switch to, there we go. We'll leave that up in case people want to look at it. I am a little behind, like I said, because I was sick, and also because the page I'm working on, it's a page turn page. We've talked about that in lots of past videos, but it's where I have a big panel with a big splashy reveal. And as I was drawing it, I just realized, first of all, it's drawing a thing for the first time in this whole book where you're really able to see it. And therefore, I'm committing to the first time, like, what is this even going to look like? I always have a rough idea of how I want things to look. But then when you actually, the day of you're drawing it, you're making a lot of choices. It's like, I think it's going to be like this, and I'm going to do it like this. I'm going to do it like this. And how does that look? And there's a lot of, it's like drawing a character for the first time or anything for the first time. It's finding it a little bit. It's a lot of trial and error and deciding, like, is that how I want him to look? No, I don't know. So I'm doing that. It's a page I know people are really going to look at, so I want to get it exactly right. I'm just spending extra time making sure that that panel in particular is solid and dialed in. it's done now, that panel, but there's another panel on that page that now I'm like trying to pull together. It's almost done, but I lost between being sick and that panel, that first panel that I really wanted to look good. It put me, I was already a little behind, and then it put me more behind. That's why I'm considering just pushing a week until I can catch up sometime this summer. Other than that, plugging away. Now that I'm done with Andor, I'm probably gonna switch to Last of Us at some point. I really loved the first season. Eager to start second. Not as nuts about it as Star Wars stuff, but I liked it enough where I would like to watch the second season. Let me take a quick look at the chat. Let's see here. Last Jedi was a highly effective left turn because of the plotting by Johnson. Wholeheartedly embrace surprise. Yeah. That was Rise to me felt a little like a Disney ride or something. It just was very safe, but not in a way like, to me, Force Awakens was also safe, but in a crowd pleasing kind of like Luke rescuing the Grogu and Mandalorian crew. Safe. That's a very safe choice, but it's really fun, and it's kind of what you want to see. To me, that was Force Awakens safe. Rise of Skywalker was just, let's not present any more targets to this nutty audience we have online. Now, I think if Last Jedi if it came out today, I don't think Disney would be as cowed by the internet reaction. I think by now they've kind of learned that you mostly have to ignore the internet chatter about everything. But I think at the time they were really caught off guard. They did not expect that. Remember, they were high on that movie too. They were really, you could tell they were excited about it before it came out. And Johnson had been like, was like, you're going to do another trilogy for us. And they were very excited. Like, they thought they really had something. They must have people in the building that were like me, that were like, this is awesome. This is great. This is going to be huge. And it did well, but it was polarizing, and they didn't like that. They didn't like that aspect of the reaction at all. And I think a lot of it was they got cowed and they blinked, and they just tried to damage control. And that's a terrible place to make a movie from. I think that's a lot of Rise of Skywalker's problem. Let's see here. Biceps and triceps swollen, with fired. Never thought I'd exercise. I'm glad that you hung out. Let's see here. Because like the Godfather, it's all it's family. Let's see here. How can you remain a hero if your father was a hero? Yeah, absolutely. It's a huge part of it. Huge part of it. Mr. Pate, you just when we're wrapping up, I'm sorry to say, but I feel good about my list though. I feel pretty good about it. I probably will be rewatching this in a couple days to see, like, is that really where things should be? But feels pretty good. That was harder than I thought it would be. Anyway, I encourage you all to go ahead and do it yourself. This website's pretty cool. I've seen other people do it, but this was fun. All right, everybody. That's enough. We're almost right at the hour-and-a-half mark. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for chiming in. Thank you for rewatching. Thank you for buying my comics if you have. And thank you for looking forward to the fourth book in the series, DvsM 2001, The Soldier, due out at the end of the year. I'm working hard on it. It's going to be something. I'm excited about it, but I was excited about The Last Jedi. So who knows? Anyway, talk to you all later.